One by one, the heads of state and government arrived at the conference center for this final day of negotiation. Delegations have been meeting for 2 weeks to forge agreement on measures to combat global warming, but so far there's been no deal. Addressing the gathering, President Obama urged negotiators to put aside differences and agree on a plan.
After months of talk, after 2 weeks of negotiations, after innumerable side meetings, bilateral meetings, endless hours of discussion among negotiators, I believe that the pieces of that accord should now be clear.
The United States wants all major economies to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. It wants transparent standards for verifying compliance and funding to help the poorest nations adapt. If agreement can be reached, the U.S. says it'll work with others to mobilize a global fund for developing countries. The U.S. has also said it will reduce emissions by 17% by 2020, a figure criticized by many here as not enough. President Obama said while the U.S. plan will not please everyone, it's a move forward.
We can embrace this accord, take a substantial step forward, continue to refine it, and build upon its foundation.
Other leaders focused on steps their governments had already taken to combat climate change and their commitments to continuing those efforts. But others expressed disappointment that not more had been achieved, among them Lesotho's Prime Minister Pakalitha Mosisili.
To say that we are disappointed is indeed an understatement, particularly that after 24 months of hard negotiations and the intensive deliberations of this conference, an agreement could not be reached on a legally binding regime.
There's increasing talk of a framework agreement and acknowledgement that further negotiations will have to get beyond that. Sonja, VOA News, Copenhagen.